Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Tomacuzi-9, which is being made by user ASXAS. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a very strange but wonderful new gun, which is a cobbled together mix of a Thompson, an Uzi, and a Tech 9. Thus, the Tomacuzi-9. And I really like this thing. It's a very unique weapon. So let's take a look at what you do get with this mod, and let's take a look at the standard version of the Tomacuzi. Now, I say standard, but this is actually not the first version of the gun you'll find in the game. I'll talk more about that here in a second, but all in all, a very interesting weapon, very nicely made. I do quite like the look. Now, as for its stats here, in its most basic form, it'll do 18 damage with 45 rounds at a firing rate of 93, range of 119, accuracy of 50, and a weight of 8.3, and has quite a nice selection of modifications for you to do things such as this strange submachine gun that's fully automatic with a flashlight and all sorts of weird things on it, or of course go for a more sniper build with this semi-automatic hardened piercing rifle with a plastic bottle for the suppressor, which I truly love because, well, it very much says Fallout to me, and that is wonderful. Now, as for how you get a hold of one of these guns, it's a little interesting and very different to what I've seen with other weapon mods in the past. Now, you'll get, when you start up the game, at level 10, a new mission called Improvised Tommy, and this will tell you to go find Christina at Mystic Pines, and when you get there, you kill her. She will then drop a one of these guns, which is very similar to this suppressed one here, but of course I've modified it a bit further. But it will be a, version of the Tomacuzi on her, which you'll then pick up. And here's the funny thing about it. Once you pick it up, a UI will pop up asking you some questions. And the big one of those questions is, how do you want to add it to the leveled loot list? Now, if you don't select anything there, that will be the only version of the gun you will ever find. But you also have the option to add it into the loot list just for merchants, so you can buy it at stores, or also onto the loot list for having on enemies as well. So you can find it in the fairly normal fashion, and I find that very intriguing that it gives you those sorts of options. I've never really seen a mod do it like that before, but all in all, an interesting way to go about it. But let's go and take a look at some of the modifications we have for these things over here at the weapon workbench. And we're actually going to go to one of these because, as you can see here, we have a rail attachment, which isn't normally on it, and, well, we have problems sometimes with getting the category in here if we don't select that gun. So let's take a look first at the receivers, which is a pretty standard selection of receivers, a little bit short of a list, but it has your standard armor piercing, hardened piercing, and of course powerful. So a short list, but, doable. We then have the stock category, which has 3 options of either no stock, folded, or unfolded. We then have the magazine with only 2 options of standard or dual, which you'll just have 2 of them duct taped together for faster reloads. We then have the sights category, where we have the sort of standard aperture sight, a notch, glow aperture, glow notch, and the rail that you can add on to then add on more modern cool sights, and then a rail which adds a little glowing bit to the front as well if you so desire, which, I mean, hey, you do you. We then have, after that category, we have the muzzle here, which has the standard sort of things of either none, a compensator, or that very strange bottle suppressor, which, again, I love. It very much says Fallout, and that is a good thing. And after that, we have the fire mode selector, where we can either choose between fully automatic or semi-automatic, and yeah, just moves that little switch to one position or the other, and that's nice to have. Then we move on after that to the flashlight, where we can either have none or, you know, one on there for, you know, having a flashlight. Always useful. And then after that, we have the rail attachment, if you, of course, do select one of the rails, where we'll have an aim point, or no attachment here, the Micro T1, the M145, the aim point that for some reason was in my head a second ago, and the SRS-02. So just a, you know, nice little selection of more modern-ish tactical sights. Very nice. And then we have the skin category, where we have either the default blue zebra or forest friends. And that is pretty cool. Now, there can be potentially another category in here, as one of the other questions it'll ask you when you pick up the gun after that mission is if you want to allow damage modifiers. So you could potentially also have a category in here if you select to have that, for, you know, making these a little bit more powerful. But you guys know how I feel about those. I'm not a huge fan. But that's cool that it gives you that option. I do love that. So that is, of course, all of our various attachments that we do have for these guns. Let's take a look at firing them. So let's go to the standard one. Of course, again, they use 45 rounds. And take some shots. There we go, a pretty fast-firing gun, which pretty much as fast as you can click the mouse, it will put a bullet down range, which is very handy. Nice, good, solid animation on there, always good, no problems with it. So let's take a look at the automatic version. Oh yeah, a lot of kick on that, baby. But surprisingly, well, at least on this one, considering it has a compensator, fairly easy to control. And with, I believe this is the SRS sight on here, quite a nice little scope. I do very much enjoy it. And of course, with that dual mag, very nice quick reloads. There we go. Now let's take a look at finally the suppressed version, which, again, one of the more modern scopes on there. Not much zoom to it, but quite accurate. There we go. And, of course, even with, you know, a makeshift bottle suppressor, still nice and suppressed. Very good. So let's, of course, take a look at these against our usual test subjects over here of Randy and Will. Actually been a bit since I've tested a gun against them, since we've had, well, between my illness of missing an episode of this and, the odd, well, not odd, but, you know, other sorts of mods we've been looking at recently. Let's, no sneak damage. Let's just try and get a shot on him with this. A little hard without magnification. But hey, one shot, you know, did some damage to him. Oh, boy. Oh, we're getting him. Where'd he go? Oh, he's standing there. And fire. 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 There we go. He's down. Yeah, with this particular one, I think this is the hardened piercing. Not exactly the most powerful thing ever, but it worked and did its job as it was intended. So let's, of course, go to the automatic and take out Randy the Radstag. So let's just charge on over here. Ooh, he's a bit further down than usual, but we got an automatic weapon, so it shouldn't be hard to take him down. Hi, Randy! There we go! Just a nice little burst. We're down to 15 rounds, so how many did we use there? 15! Wonderful! That actually worked out pretty nicely. But yes, this is the Tomacuzi-9, a very strange, makeshift, cobbled-together weapon that I have very much been enjoying, especially with its very interesting method of finding it. I mean, the quest to find the gun is pretty normal, but then having that little questionnaire, essentially, after you pick it up, is very unique and I think quite cool. But that is going to be it for today. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course, that you do come back for the next episode when hopefully we'll be looking at yet another wonderful mod. But until then, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one!